All right, Helldivers, we got a lot to talk about today. I saw an article, we're talking about crossover events, and I thought, hell, we should probably do a video talking about some fun crossover events. And that's what we're going to do today in this video. Now, let's get some disclaimers out of the way real quick. When it comes to crossover events, we're not going to get something like the Covenant added to Helldivers 2. That just ain't going to happen. What's more likely to happen is maybe just some skins, or it's like an armor set or a weapon or two, that at most from another franchise. So we are going to talk about things that come from different franchises that work really well in Helldivers 2 in general, but just know when it comes to like an actual crossover event and what we're really going to get from it, just keep your expectations in check. That's basically it. And we will go over, I would say, the likelihood of any of these coming actually into the game, because some of them, I don't think they're coming at all, but we will still kind of talk to them and mention them. And the list that the developer kind of like was throwing out there was just kind of like their wish list, essentially. We'll take a few from that list as well, and then I've got a few I'm going to add into this as well. But if this is your first time with the channel, just know we are more relaxed, laid back, chill, and we talk about Helldivers 2. So if that's your sort of thing, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And yeah, let's get off with the first franchise that I think would be a pretty good fit for a Helldivers 2 crossover. Now, the first game I want to talk about that would be a cool crossover is Halo, just in general. That's pretty much right off the bat. ODST. They fit perfectly as Helldivers. ODST stands for Orbital Drop Shock Trooper. These are the guys that drop in from above, land, and then they have their own like spin-off game from Halo 3. Obviously, we as Helldivers, we do the exact same thing. We wear capes, they don't. But as a franchise, I think it obviously pairs very well with Helldivers 2. Now, what could we take from ODST? We could take their armor, some of their weapons, those type of skins. They do fight the Covenant. We would need the Illuminated to kind of have like a one-to-one comparison with those, and we don't have the Illuminated in Helldivers 2 at the moment. Terminids in Flood, they don't exactly mix that much, so really I just think it's the armor aesthetic and what functionality they have in their military setting and our military setting. They both kind of do the same job. Now, what is the likelihood that this crossover would ever even happen? Very unlikely. I think the devs have even stated before that this is just not going to happen in general, and to be honest, let's be real here. For a crossover event to happen in general, you need both sides to come to the table and basically want to do it. And 343, Halo Studios, I don't think they can tell the difference between their ass and their face. That Halo has been going downhill ever since they were in charge, and just because they changed the studio name, I don't have very much faith in the Halo franchise at the moment until they prove me otherwise. So I think they're just way too busy doing whatever the hell they're doing to even like, you know, fancy the idea of having a crossover with Helldivers 2, because we would have to give them something as well in return, which obviously we could. And I think as an indie studio, obviously that's what Helldivers 2 is considered. Arrowhead, they got more flexibility on what they can do, not as much manpower, but you know, they have less red tape to kind of pull through. So, but likelihood, I don't think it's going to happen. As a franchise though, I do think we could pull a lot from it, and I do think it works. Now, moving on to another franchise that I think this game could pull from, and I think would work out pretty well, is Star Wars. We obviously could have like Republic Commando skins, obviously the clone troopers, or even the stormtroopers, because guess what? They fly now. Who knew? But what could we else get from Star Wars in general? Well, obviously there is the droid army from the Clone Wars. Those work pretty well with the automatons. Don't really have like a bug race or zombies or something like that from Star Wars, so I wouldn't think we'd actually that side doesn't really work. But against the automatons, yeah, the droid armor, I think they pair pretty well together. Skin wise, man, there's so many blasters and just armor like designs and paint jobs and stuff that I think could really benefit into coming to Helldivers 2. Likelihood, I mean, depends on which studio, I guess, would have the Star Wars game that we'd pull from. If it's EA, that's pretty unlikely. So I do think this is another one that's probably not going to happen. Does it work though? I think they have enough tools in their kit to match with Helldivers 2 that this would easily work, but yeah, I don't think this one's going to happen. And as a quick aside, I forgot to mention this with the ODST, with the Halo franchise. If you guys are on PC and you go to Nexus Mods, somebody is doing the Lord's work over there and is putting out skins for like, you know, the Halo weapons, changing the automatons into droids and stuff from Star Wars. So I haven't touched those things yet. I'm kind of a little timid too. don't want to get banned or something like that. I don't know what it'll mess with in detect, but just know it's somebody's doing that already, and it looks really cool. I might give it a try. It'd be really cool to kind of deck your guy out as an ODST, but just know that is a thing. And so, this next one, this is an easy one. Starship Troopers. Now, this one obviously works extremely well. You know, Helldivers 2 and Starship Troopers, they both have a fascist government, and they have that propaganda and that same type of tone. Obviously, Helldivers 2 was pulled a shit ton from Starship Troopers. So they have the Arachnids, we have the Terminids, armor styles, they all look really good together. They could get our armor, we could get their armor. I think it would just flow really well. And Starship Troopers Extermination, they're an indie team too, so I think actually them coming together would be actually pretty easy. I think there's a greater likelihood of this happening, this type of crossover, than the first two that I mentioned there. So just know this one I actually have a little bit more stock in, and I think it really works really well, especially for us getting some of their gear, especially the assault rifle with 60 rounds in the magazine. Arrowhead, 60 rounds. Do you know what that's like for an assault rifle? I think we're getting there. I'm holding out hope for you, but you keep not wanting the assault rifles to be very good. Anywho, let's move on to the next franchise. So we're now moving into the horror kind of genre. We're going to talk about aliens. Basically, any sort of military Marine Corps that's in space is based off of the aliens, colonial Marines from the second movie in the entry. And ooh, man, I would love their assault rifles in ours. And their assault rifles have the functionality of an alt fire. I mean, so do the Starship Trooper rifles. They have the shotgun. But now we're talking about a grenade launcher explosive attachment to it. And we know we have the technology because we have the Holt shotgun that just came out that has the stasis rounds and then the medium penetration fletchet rounds. So if we could get an assault rifle, and if you want to take the one from Aliens, that's cool. But, you know, has the normal magazine rounds, and then you can switch it over to explosive rounds. Oof. I'm giving you ideas, Arrowhead. You don't have to credit me, but so let's go. Let's run with this, you know? Let's make the assault rifles great. Is this slowly turning into a video about how assault rifles are bad and they could be better? Yes, we're gonna try to rein it in, but no promises. But finishing up with the aliens reference here, obviously they have the xenomorphs, and there are a shit ton of them. You got the huggers, the regular warriors, the bigger ones, the queen. There are so many of those that work with the Helldivers franchise, especially with the Terminids. Honestly, you could reskin a lot of the Terminids as xenomorphs, and it would work perfectly. Their Marines obviously work well with our Marines. It's something like the Dark Descent, the Aliens Dark Descent game. That game is really cool. 4-man squads. We have 4-man squads. So this crossover event may be a little more likely. I think we could get some colonial Marine skins and kind of like armor styles. Obviously, I already mentioned the weaponry. And here's a really good, this Arrowhead. Okay, we need the machine gun, the smart gun. So we need a stratagem that drops, and it's a machine gun, but it also comes with our backpack as an ammunition too. And obviously the functioning fire needs to be different than our stalwart and our regular machine gun, but somewhere in there. Oh, there. I'm giving you gold, Arrowhead. I'm giving you fucking gold. That would be an amazing stratagem weapon. It doesn't even need to be taken from the Aliens franchise. Let's just put it in the game ourselves with our own spin on it. Oh, this is a really good one. Man, the ideas, they're beautiful right now. They're beautiful. So, the Aliens franchise, how likely is this to happen? More likely than Halo and Star Wars, obviously. But not as much as Starship Troopers, somewhere in the middle there, I would think. And let's keep our expectations in check here. I even think that the Starship Troopers crossover is a not very likely, or if it is, it's good. These are going to take a long time. I know that crossover events, they do just take a while. You know, you got to get timing between two studios that are juggling a live service game. So that's a tough pill to swallow. And just remember, let's just keeping things in check here. Now let's move over to a game that wasn't even on the list, and that's StarCraft. Obviously, if this is your first time on the channel, you don't know how much of a big a fan I am for StarCraft. I love StarCraft. Obviously, I have it as a music background all the time. I even use some of the menu sounds for like transitions and stuff like that. Now, does StarCraft work for Helldivers 2? I think some of the weaponry could, some of the armor skins. We would obviously need, so this is what we actually need if we're going to talk about StarCraft and a Helldivers crossover. We need more heavy armor. We need bigger, bulkier, heavy armor. You're already pretty slow in the Helldivers 2 armor in general. So if you want to just make it even a bigger taste, we have that puff suit, the Michelin Man. So if we just want to make an actual bigger, more bulky armor set with bigger shoulder pads and a full visor helmet there, the fully attached one, that could be really cool. I feel like that could work, but that might be asking for a lot. Likelihood of this one, not very much. Blizzard is not the company they used to be, and I doubt they have the bandwidth or even like people smart enough to even like pull something like this off. But as far as universes, I mean, they have Zerg, we have the Terminids, those work out pretty well together. Protoss, Illuminids, it's writing itself, but again, likelihood, not very much. It'd be cool to get like a C10 canister rifle that the Ghost have for one of our snipers. That would be fantastic because our snipers are kind of lacking. But other than that, this one, not very likely, but I do think it works. Ooh, and one that I almost forgot was Space Marine 2, the Warhammer 40k universe. Obviously, the way that Helldivers are thrown into a conflict are very much how Imperial Guardsmen are thrown into a conflict. They have the Tyranids, we have the Terminids, they go hand in hand, I'm pretty sure. And what's the likelihood of this? Well, Saber Interactive is a very efficient studio for if you read about how they got Space Marine 2 out the door and how successful that is. So I actually do put some stock into a potential crossover with this universe. I think we could get some really sweet Imperial Guardsmen stuff, maybe like a Stormtrooper or like an Elite Guardsman. Like they have a lot of the things that we could pull from Warhammer 40k. That universe is huge. I don't know shit about it that much, but I do know that I think it could work with Helldivers too. Now, what would they get from us? I don't know. Just some cool stuff, cool skins, some capes and stuff. I don't know. I feel like we get a lot more from them than they would get from us. But I do think this one is, I give it a pretty good stock as like a likelihood, and I do think it works really well. So Space Marine 2, yeah, I think this one works. Let's move on to the next one. And now for this next one, let's pull it back to the normal list that they had there. They mentioned Terminator, obviously. Ooh, this is such a good one. Obviously, you have Skynet, which matches the automatons. If we were going to take anything from the Terminator franchise, it would have to be their pulse rifles with the purple lasers. We could get some purple lasers in Helldivers too. Maybe again, the likelihood of actually getting enemies reskinned it's probably not going to happen. But it would be really cool to have our automatons be kitted out like a T-800 or something like that, like one of the Terminators. That would be really cool. But again, that likelihood, I don't know. And I'm not sure what the state of the gaming side of Terminators franchise is, if there's anybody even that could come to the table for a crossover event. So this one, not very likely. I do think it works really well. I love the Terminator franchise in general, but I don't think this one's this one's probably not going to happen. And then I saw on Reddit or somewhere that somebody mentioned the Killzone franchise. Now, I think Killzone, as far as the armor skins for like the Hellghast, I think those do work well, and they're all under the Sony umbrella. So this one, I would actually say maybe is actually pretty likely. But the Killzone franchise in general has kind of been dormant for a while. They said it was supposed to be a Halo killer. That didn't turn out to be true. It's not even a competitor to Halo, really. But Killzone is actually a really cool game, especially the second and third one. Both really fun games in general, and I wish there was like a remaster for those. But how does that work with Helldivers 2? Well, not much actually, because you're fighting the Hellghast. They don't really have a bug army or crazy robots. So other than maybe like the armor sets and maybe the guns, it's just not really. It's not something I can actually see working out very well. But I do think it a pretty likely candidate, just because again they're all under the Sony umbrella, and they could just give us a Hellghast armor or something like that and call it a day. That's how little these crossover events could actually be. In reality, we want these crossover events to be bigger, but again, not going to happen. Keeping expectations in check. All right, y'all, and I think that's all the ones that I could really think off the top of my head for a crossover event. Obviously, I took some from the list that they already put out there, but then I added my own like StarCraft. Okay, so I just wasn't all borrowing from that article. But now I throw it back to you guys. What do you think would be a cool crossover event that I didn't add? Or maybe I missed something from one of these franchises that we could take, and that would be a really cool idea. Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, Helldivers, I will see you for the next video. So take care and peace.